Hey, what's up? It's Jake from Nimbus DevOps, and I want to talk to you a little bit about using the Alias feature to save your AWS CLI commands. So if you're like me, you use the command line a lot, and you might do something like describe your instances, or in this case, I will describe my VPCs. And what you get is a JSON output, and it's a lot of information. And if you have like EC2 instances, for example, and you have a lot of them, it's really a lot, and you can't really read it. It's just too much information. But let's say you want just the CIDR block and the VPC ID and the VPC name. Well, I saved a query, a jquery string that we can use. It looks like this. And so I'm going to get the VPCs, and then I want to go from the VPCs, grab the ID, concatenate each of these values with a space, find the key name and get the value, and then get the CIDR block. And then the output looks something like this, which is a little bit easier to read. And there's different ways you can format this as well to make it evenly spaced and even easier to read than this. But we'll go ahead and just go with this, and if you want to play with it and make it however you'd like it, then go for it. So so now what? So how do you use an alias command? So let's say, and what is that? Let's say you're in your home directory, right? You should have a bash profile, so you can see that. I'll just cat dot bash underscore profile, and I can see here that it's pulling in my profile and this bash rc file. So if you go look at the bash rc file, you can see that I have some stuff, but it doesn't really do anything. This is really just some things I put in there for something else, Terraform related. So if you want to create an alias command, you could VI it or vim or use nano, but if you're in VS Code, you can just type code and then .bashrc and it will open it in VS Code. So what I can do instead is I could say, hey, I want an alias. I'm going to name it test. And when I run test, I want it to say testing successful. I save that, and then I'm going to source my .bashrc file to reload it into my profile, and then I can just type test. Did I not do this? Wait, hang on a second. Bash testing command not found. Oh, I probably want to do something like echo testing successful. Testing successful. Okay, so that works. So I could do that, but I could also do something like AWS get VPCs equals, and then grab my command that I ran, and we stick that in here. Now you do have to encapsulate this in double quotes, but I do have some double quotes in here, so you have to escape them with the backslash. So right before each double quote, you're just going to put a backslash and then save it, source it, and now I can run AWS get VPCs, and it gives me the output that I wanted, but I don't have to remember this big long command. So I went ahead and created a couple other ones just so you could see them. For example, let me source this, and one of them is AWS get EC2, and that'll get all of my EC2 instances with my instance ID, my size or instance type, and my name tag. I also did AWS get subnets, and this will give me my subnet ID, my CIDR range, which is great when you're building networks and you don't want to do any overlapping, as well as the name tag. And then there's AWS get security groups, which gives me my security group ID and the name. And you could run the same command without the jQuery and use the JSON data to say, well, what else do I want? Maybe there's some other security group information that I want. Or you could say, maybe there's something from describe instances that I want, because there's a lot in here, right? Like, look at that's just one instance. And if you're like, well, I want the private IP address and the public IP address if there's one, or I want the key name so I know which keys get into which instances, you can go ahead and add those values in your jQuery string, and that's pretty much it. So that's how I use alias commands to simplify my life using the AWS CLI. And then I'm going to put a link to a website that has some really good examples which is where I got these. And you can take them and create your own aliases, and you can name them whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you name them, and just make sure, like I said, that you put them in quotes and that you escape the double quotes that are inside, and it should work just fine. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you found this useful, then hey, great. If you already know this, then maybe share it with somebody who doesn't, because I know a lot of people do not. So anyways, happy coding, and I'll see y'all later.